Welcome to the #1 show in automotive that's taking service drives everywhere from stalled to supercharged. Service Drive Revolution. This week, a look back on the first half of 2020 and the best advice from the best episodes. And it all starts right now. Number 5.
When you pretend like you know it all, it can create this awkward thing in the interview, but it really does have the reverse effect and work to your advantage if you ask really good questions about the job to understand it, because whoever's interviewing you kind of starts to sell you on it, even though they don't know they're doing it.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to ask questions with enthusiasm and, excitement for the industry and the job, but don't be afraid. Don't pretend like you know it all. Be honest and understand that there's a learning curve.
Right.
And also, I would say, be willing to come in as a porter or in the business development center, answering phones and making appointments, because you'll learn a lot about the industry there. Like I don't know that I would have been a good advisor if I didn't start off as a porter. And then when I was a porter, I would offer to write the internal repair orders for the advisors and close them out. So I learned how to open and close a repair order long before I ever got a chance to be an advisor.
Right.
Because the computer system and most of the industry has proprietary systems that you will never know until you work there. How to write up a customer and create a repair order, how to check on things and history and all that.
Oh yeah.
And they're a little cumbersome. Once you know them, but it takes repetition.
I remember a similar situation where I was an express rider and I was just yearning for the time I was going to become a full-blown rider. And I would always remember people complaining about extended warranty. And I'd be like, why are they all mad that they're on extended warranty call? And this one guy that moved from parts over to service, his name was Danny Bacetta. And I ended up asking him one day, because he was always open to teach me as he's learning. And I asked him, what is it about extended warranty that everybody hates? And he goes, it's not that they hate it, it's just they make you go through loops and hoops, and they try to cut your hours, and you got to get strategic of how to get your text diag time and additional hours. And I said, hey, why don't we do this? When you're on one of those calls, I'll be on the call for you. You can go write up other cars, but you got to teach me what it is that I have to learn in order to get my technicians the additional time that you guys are talking about. He said, deal. And so, I come from a dealership. We had 25 advisors, and then, most of them are like, hey, he's taking advantage of you. You shouldn't let him do that. In the meantime, I knew exactly what I was doing. He's taking advantage of me, but I'm taking advantage of the opportunity and learning that. So when I became a full-blown rider, I knew all the little ins and outs of getting that extra hour and getting a little time for the technicians, exactly. Right? But yeah, that's interesting.
And then the last thing that I would say is that if you do interview for a job as an advisor or just anything in the service department, I would right away, as soon as you leave there, write a handwritten note card and mail it to the post office where that dealership is so they get it the next day.
Yeah.
And maybe send a couple thank you notes like that, because it shows that you can follow up and that you're attentive. And that's what we're looking for advisors is that little extra that nobody else does. And not too many people write handwritten letters anymore. So an email is okay, but a handwritten letter is a nice little touch. And even more, if you notice something about the manager that was interviewing you or something, something that complements that. Like say, for example, Captain, who's one of our elite managers in San Diego in our elite group, is super into Star Trek. And you couldn't go in his office and not notice it. So if you sent him, like even if you just put a Star Trek, logo on the card or whatever, you don't need to spend any money on it, but just showing that you understand how to connect with customers quickly. Because like Mario was saying, selling door-to-door, it's the same thing in the service drive. Is you got seconds to decide how you're going to connect with the customer. And so if they have a vanity plate or they have chrome wheels or a cool pair of shoes on or something, you're going to notice that and you're going to go to that first. You're going to say like, oh, wow, those shoes are cool. Where did you get them? Because people love to talk about themselves and they love that attention. So, if anybody is putting chrome wheels on their car, modifying their car, it's a cry for help in the way that they want attention for that. So if you can notice that about the manager that interviewed you and notice something in their office, like they're hunters or fishing or sports or whatever it is, those little things are a nice touch and will put you above everybody else because of that attention to detail, because that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, but I think it's really important to remind everybody it's attention to detail. It takes an art to pay attention to everything else besides yourself. We're so narcissist, so we're so worried about how we're going to sound and so on. Narcissistic.
Speak for yourself, son.
Which a lot of times we're so focused on ourselves that we don't pay attention to what's around us, right? What do you think? I think we should bring up the topic, which goes without saying, but I think one big thing that's going to help you get hired is how you're dressed. How you dress up to the interview.
I say you go into the interview dressed like Borat with that onesie. What is that thing called?
Chris, you're trying to get them. We're trying to help them
what
to.
do you call it?
A one-piece slingy
No, but
or
it's
something.
like a, what do they call that? Like a banana hammock?
A banana hammock or something. We want to help them get a job, Chris, not get kicked out of there.
Guaranteed they're going to talk about you for weeks.
Not
They
in a
could have
good way.
interviewed 100 people. They're going to talk about you and then send the thank you card. That would confuse everybody, right?
I want to see that, guys. Write back to us. Let's
For
see it.
Borat, to be the best. Nobody does that.
That is definitely,
No, what do you think they should wear? A tie?
just a shirt and tie, some slacks. I mean, you want to pay attention to detail on how you look. They're going to be looking at that, right? One of the things we train people is before you even talk, they're sizing you up. They're looking at who you are before you even say hello, right? And we have seconds, a matter of seconds. I think it's like 9, and then it goes down to about 6 or 7 if it's a female. They think about you right away, how you look, how you're walking. And so I think it's important that you give them that right impression in order for them to at least want to hear what you have to say, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. So dress up.
Dress up.
Jacket?
No, I think I like the banana hammock after all.
Can you imagine? That'd be so fun. If anybody does that, please videotape it and send it to us. I would love that. Yeah. Nothing more rewarding than working in our industry. Like,
Definitely.
it's crazy. So if you're lucky enough to get hired, approach it like a pro and remember that your role as an advisor is to collect customers. That's your job. Selling is the easiest part.
Number 4.
Let's talk about the 5 reasons technicians aren't efficient.
Number
5
1.
reasons.
I know the first one.
Okay.
Smoking and vaping. Just going to say it.
No, the first one is the parts department.
The parts department. Why are you throwing the parts department under the bus already?
That's always what the texts say.
Well, yeah, if there's a long line out of parts,
It's always
absolutely.
parts' fault.
It is
I've
always
never gone into
parts'
a shop
fault.
where they didn't say that it was the parts department.
Look at the color of that.
Holy cow. That's beautiful.
For our listening audience, I just poured some tequila into the new
new glass. We can't smoke cigars here in this.
Next time. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with smoking and vaping.
Smoking and vaping is number 1.
And-
Okay.
Yep.
What is the number 2 reason technicians aren't efficient?
Sexting.
Sexting.
No, I mean texting. I'm sorry.
Technicians are sexting?
Yeah, probably.
What kind of
Yes.
technicians do you have in your shop?
No, this isn't my shop. This is a survey of all technicians all across North America, Canada.
That they're
included.
sexting?
Yes.
Like they're sending pictures of their family jewels?
To the cashier or whoever. Now, HR department, you got to pay attention to this because that could definitely get you guys in some hot water. So
That's not number 2. Number 2 is it's the parts department.
it's the department. Awesome.
Okay,
What's number 3?
number 3 is the parts department.
He really has the parts department written down as number 3 right now, so that is actually funny.
Have
The
you
parts
ever
department.
gone into a shop where they didn't say it was the parts department?
No, well, hold on. Let's just pause here real quick. So, 2 sides of the coin. Dealership world, yes, the parts department can slow down production immensely. If a technician has to go, let's say a tech's working on 4 repair orders a day, and he's standing in line for parts 10 minutes a day. How many minutes is that?
Say that again? I was just drinking tequila. I didn't know I was taking
I'll give you the
I didn't know I was
answer.
taking the SATs.
4 repair orders a day, 10 minutes at the part counter.
40 minutes.
Is 40 minutes. Okay, that's a lot of money. that you're
ton of
wasting.
money.
It is. So that's no reason why some technicians can't hit the magical 100% on efficiency or productivity. Now, in the independent world, the service advisor is the parts department. So the challenge is if you mess up an order and you have a car on the rack and you don't have a part and now your technician has to stop, that costs the shop a lot of money. So you've got to make sure parts arrive on time and that the parts are actually there.
Okay, actually the number 3 that we have is they don't have a system.
Threw me for a curveball there, yes. Tell me about a system.
The really good technicians that flag a lot of hours have a system for how they pull in the cars, how they inspect the cars, how they handle parts, how they get another car going. Like the really good ones will have 2 cars going, they'll have one underneath the other car, but they have a system. They're consistent in their system that they inspect every car the same every time. They don't take shortcuts. That sort of thing, right?
Okay. So they actually run their little business out of their bay like a business or a franchise model would, where they have duplicatable systems that are done the same way every time. So they don't miss stuff.
Yeah, the other one I would say with that is the really good techs understand that there's a customer attached to this car. They don't look at it like, hey, it's a 2010 F-150.
Okay.
They're like, there's a mom that's driving kids to soccer practice that has to be to work on time, that is in a hurry and doesn't have time to break down. And so there's a human behind every vehicle. It's not just a vehicle.
Interesting. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, it's powerful to think that way because there's somebody behind it. When you're impersonal, you'll take shortcuts, your quality isn't as good, and you also won't inspect them the same way. Because if you care about them, like let's say it was your mom's car and you saw a leak, you saw a belt, you saw a hose, you would tell them, hey, you should do that. You don't want to break down. But instead we prejudge, we get in a hurry, we take shortcuts. We don't want to do the hose, so we won't recommend it because it's in a spot we don't want to do.
Absolutely. And remember, our repairs can become like a time machine, right? Because it's much easier to take care of things while there's smaller problems in the shop rather than out on the road as a breakdown. So humanizing it is absolutely key. And then with the system too, cleaning up after you work, right? Like I'm not a good technician, and I have a cart with tools in it and I just throw everything in the top. And then our new technician, Levi, has done just an amazing job. First week he came in.
Shout out Levi.
Shout out Levi, there we go, yep. Set a record, flag right hours. And I watch how he works. He's very methodical, and when he finishes the job, he makes sure that he cleans up and puts everything back where it goes. So he takes a little bit more time at the end, but it speeds him up getting into the next one, so he's not searching for tools and stuff. So having a great system, absolutely.
You don't have a system.
No, I'm not as a technician because I don't make my living as a tech.
Number 4.
Number 4. That
was parts department.
The
Number 4 is
I have failed that
they
test.
don't understand what the advisors are doing.
Okay.
They don't work with the advisors.
So there's no team effort there?
Yeah, well, they just don't understand what process the advisors are going through. They just assume that the advisors don't know how to get descriptions. They don't communicate with them. They don't spend time with them.
Yeah.
They don't understand that it's a law of averages, that if you inspect 10 vehicles, you're going to sell like 30%.
So what you're telling me that some technicians will base their recommendations off of what a service advisor sells or doesn't sell? So part of that as well?
Yeah,
so
they prejudge.
They prejudge based off of the advisor. Okay.
Now, the number 5 reason why technicians aren't efficient.
I know the answer.
Parts department. No, the number 5, this was yours and it's really, really good. Untrained service advisors.
Yes, service advisors that cannot sell. They can't close the deal.
They're not trained. They don't know what they're doing. They don't connect with customers.
Yep.
Terrible service advisors will kill the shop.
Horrible write-ups.
Yep. Bad descriptions.
Oh, absolutely. They don't document every concern. They don't have the customer bought into the inspection process, all of that.
They don't call the customer. They don't have the right phone number. They don't get the work okayed while it's still in the tech stall. The tech's got to pull it in and out. Right?
Painful.
Because they didn't get the right number. They didn't communicate. All of that. And then when they do call them, they don't know how to sell the work. Like, it always blows me away when you go into a service department, you go through repair orders and customers decline brakes. It's like, how do you decline brakes? You're going to go get them
did-
done somewhere else.
I didn't come in for brakes today.
But when I call on declines, most of the time the customers, I'll say like, hey, Jeremy, I see you were in here last week and we're just trying to get better. And we recommended brakes. And I was just wondering why you didn't have that taken care of while you're here.
And we have a system for that too.
You know what's the system?
The piggy bank system. You put that one in your piggy bank in the
We do.
Chris Collins
But
bank episode.
you know what they say most of the time?
What?
They didn't tell me until I came to pick it up.
That's
So the advisors never called while I was still in the stall.
They didn't even ask for the sale?
Nope.
Wow. So can I share a quick story with you?
Yeah.
So I had a vehicle that I took over to one of our local dealerships, and I got to be the customer and go through the sales presentation from the service advisor. And it was very painful. And so the guy, gets me on the phone, and I said, yep, go ahead. What do you got? And I had a very specific concern that I took the car in for, right? And so he goes into this thing and then glosses over my concern, and then he's telling me about this and this and this and this. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, if I was a customer, I'd probably hang up on you. Because there's just no flow to it. It was really like he was just reading off the repair order, just going down things. And after like 15 seconds, I totally tuned out. And then at the end of his, 5-minute presentation, I said, okay, so what's it going to take to fix what I brought it in for? And so as an advisor, there's an art and a flow to how you present what the vehicle needs. And if you're just going off of a list and say that we found this and my technician also found this, your customers are tuning out. There's no passion there. There's no purpose behind it, rather than just telling the customer what the list is. So sometimes we have to go on the other side and be the customer to feel what they go through in the presentations as well. So untrained service advisors are definitely a reason why our technicians are not hitting their numbers or why they're unproductive. So,
And there could have been a sixth one, but we decided to leave it off, and that would have been the parts department.
the parts department, absolutely.
Number 3.
I'm new to your YouTube channel and service advising, but using your channel to learn as much as possible in conjunction with my training I'm going through at the dealership. My main concern and what I seem to not be able to find within all of your videos is the most common mechanical issues or problems that most come up for service advisors. Example, a guy came in the other day with severe tire wear on 2 front tires. It was an all-wheel drive Subaru, which I would have no clue that if you had an all-wheel drive, you should always replace all 4 at the same time. She means all 4 tires at the same time. I know there's an infinite number of answers to this, but as a novice service advisor with 0 mechanical experience, what are some of the most general basic questions you get most often and answer so much? So, Lindy, it's a great question, and I understand the spirit behind the question, but it's the wrong question. Because what you want to understand is your role as a service advisor is not to diagnose anything. It's not. You don't need to diagnose tire rotations in the end. What your role is to make friends with the customer, make the customer really comfortable so the customer can explain their concerns with the car. You can document that and then let the technician do the work. You got to think of yourself this way. The technician's the doctor, and you're the nurse receptionist. Your job is not to diagnose anything. Your job is to make them feel comfortable, to get them to fill out the paperwork, get all the information, and tee up the doctor for success, right? So the only variable in this maybe would be that you could recommend maintenance when maintenance is due and understand that, but you do not need to know anything about the car as much as you need to be really, really good with connecting with people. Spend your time connecting with customers on a deeper level. Spend your time making friends. The car is a commodity. Anybody can service a Subaru. In fact, I don't know if you know this stat, but 70% of clients end up going to independent shops after their warranty is up. So you're losing more customers because we think the car is special. Right. When it's not. It's a commodity. The car is an excuse to make friends with the customer. So Subaru customers, and I know this because I was a Subaru service advisor, are the most interesting characters out there as far as car brands go. They're outdoors, they're mountain biking, they're freaks, they're crazy, and Focus on that. Focus on making friends with them, getting to know them, asking 4 or 5 questions. Where are you going today? What do you do? Where do you drive your Subaru? What your kids, your dogs, your hobbies,
Emotional
work.
connections.
Yep, emotional connection. And don't worry about diagnosing the car. The reason why in service advisor training all that isn't in there is because you said it. There's a million different things or variables that could happen.
Right.
And your job is to be a customer collector, connect, and then make the process easier.
Right.
Back in the early days of our industry, customers pulled right in the shop and talked directly to the technician. That ended up being a distraction because the technicians were doing all kinds of other things and not actually just working on cars. Your job is to make it like you're the communication between, but you make the follow-up better. You make the customers comfortable. You get them talking and opening up. Think about if I get you opening up about your personal life and then I ask you about a rattle. I'm going to get a much better description than if you're nervous and it's all a transaction and I'm running you in and out like a number, right? So go on test drives, confirm what the customer is saying, really, really put your hands on it, but you don't need to know how to fix it. You don't need to know how to diagnose anything. Let the technicians do that. And over time, you're going to learn because you're going to see certain things over and over again. But, I mean, I remember when I was a service advisor, because I was making so much money and doing so well, one of the Volkswagen technicians, his name was Shane. He was a prick, that kid. And I remember one day, bro, he was doing a recall on a Jetta, and he didn't disconnect the battery, and he blew the airbag.
Right.
And I thought it was the greatest thing. He broke the windshield on the car because he didn't do the job right.
Yeah.
Because he was such a jerk. But anyways, he calls me out, and all the Volkswagen techs, and I don't know, there were like 12 of them. He's got this like wood box, this like wood crate, and there's like a disc on it. And he calls everybody around, all the techs who are around, and he's like, and I didn't know what I was being set up for. He's like, so what is that? And I was like, I think I said a brake rotor. He goes, oh my God, you can't be a service advisor. You don't know the difference between a brake rotor and a clutch disc. And he goes to my boss and says, he can't write service. He does. And my boss is like, his job's not to know the difference. That's your job.
Right.
His job's to make friends. The reason why he sells so much is because people trust him and like him. It has nothing to do with that. And I don't know, whenever I had a technician recommend something or whatever, I'd just go out and I'd say, could you explain it to me? Could you show me? So I would understand. And that's how I learned. So just, Lindy, make friends with customers, get them to trust you, be an investigative reporter and get all the information, but you don't need to know all that. Don't diagnose cars. One last thing with that is sometimes the worst advisors are advisors that used to be techs.
Yeah, I see that
Because
quite a bit.
they know everything. They can diagnose. We never make any money because they'll just diagnose it in the drive, but they didn't spend really time diagnosing, so a third of the time they're wrong.
Right. And then they discredit the work that the technicians do in the back and they want to discount. It can go wrong in so many ways.
So good question though. We will email you and get your info and we will send you some swag.
Swag bag.
And I would suggest reading the Millionaire Service Advisor because it'll help you with some of that. There's some good stories and analogies in there for you on how to be a service advisor.
Number 2.
The biggest mistakes keeping advisors from selling. What are the biggest mistakes out there keeping advisors from selling?
The main one I come across quite a bit is their mindset. Like getting in their own way a little bit.
Their mindset gets in their own way?
Yeah, they get in their own way by their mindset.
Are you referring
think
to Tom?
There's too many things. Yeah, maybe a little bit. They think there's too many things that keep them from being able to do the items they need to be able to sell more.
There's too many things keeping them from being able to.
Yeah, they get busy with all the wrong stuff.
Busy bee?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I agree with that for sure. The other one is that the managers aren't putting a system in the drive to support them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the system doesn't support the advisors being in front of customers. Like, let me give you an example. if you have your customers coming in every 10 minutes, so advisors have a new appointment every 10 minutes, how are they possibly going to call and update customers?
Yeah.
How are they going to call and update customers before the customer calls us for an update? They're not. They have no time. They have no time to do upsells, to do updates. So as managers, like that's one thing is you want to give them 20 to 30 minutes between customers so they can over deliver. Right? A lot of times when the switchboard's blowing up at lunch and at 4 in the afternoon, it's because we haven't called them. Right? So we have to put a system in place where the advisors have time to call them, right? So, you know, a lot of times the system in the drive is confusing. Customers are upset. They don't know where to go, what to do. It's just, you know, it's chaos. And it's the manager, it's their role to fix that before then a good advisor can plug into the system. And then on the advisor side, I feel like advisors are too transactional. Like I always think when I fly Southwest Airlines, like that's a lot of what advisors are doing. It's very transactional. Line up, come here, do this, but it's not fun. It's not friendly. Like I always get stressed out. Like I'm in my A45. Like, am I going to get an aisle seat or am I going to have to sit in the middle? Like it's just stressful, right? That's how customers feel when they come in, is like, is somebody going to help me? Oh, they all look busy. Everybody's busy. Great. I had an appointment, but now, you know, are they going to be able to get me in? Are they going to, like, they doubt what's happening in the back if the front is chaotic.
And even if it's a controlled chaos, they feel like herded cattle, right? That's the thing I always think of, like, when Southwest, when you're boarding, you use that as an example, and they open it up, like it's just like this, here comes this whole, you know, and it almost feels like when you're fighting for your place in line, you know. And it's easy to, it's easy to get that as an advisor, especially if, like you're saying, the system's not set up for you to win anyway, then you're just trying to make it from 7 o'clock to close with, you know, the least amount of heat as possible. And once you're doing that, like it is transactional then.
So think about this for a second, Christopher. We have clients that are dealerships. We have clients that are independent shops. And then we have heavy truck clients, right? 70% of the customers that start off buying their car at the dealer end up going to an independent shop. 70% end up leaving the dealership and going to an independent shop. Now, if you talk to an independent shop, the dealerships have home field advantage. They have home field advantage. You had them first, right? They were coming to your party, and now they're not coming to your party anymore because your party was that bad. If your party was good, they would never leave. Like that's failure on a massive scale. That you had. The thing that everybody wants in a transaction is home field advantage. You want it in sports, you want it in business, you want it in any way that you can have home field advantage. You want it. And they have home field advantage and they piss it away because it's transactional. It's chaotic. It's not friendly. And then we think like, oh, it's a Toyota. They're a Toyota customer. We're going to talk about Toyota. They could care less about Toyota. The car's a commodity. It is. What matters is them as people, connecting with them. Like people say we have the new stuff. We're teaching the old stuff.
Number 1.
Did you know I found a time machine?
No.
No, seriously, absolutely. I
found a DeLorean?
Similar to that, but the cool part is we can have every customer take a ride in this time machine. Do you know what it is?
No.
It's vehicle maintenance. So think about this. What's the one thing as a service advisor that customers say no to pretty much regularly or easily? They neglect their car. They say no to maintenance. Why is maintenance easy for a customer to say no to?
Tell me.
Well, because if you say no, when you leave, the car doesn't run any differently than it did before it came back. Like, wouldn't it be great if the manufacturers...
because you don't notice a difference in performance.
Yeah, but think about this. If the manufacturers program the cars that if you were overdue for maintenance, the car would literally shut off and stop on the side of the road until you maintained it, or the car would break down. That just doesn't happen. So I was thinking the other night, and I'm like, okay, how do we help service advisors and dealerships increase their maintenance revenue. Because parts revenue is under attack, parts profit is under attack because of online venues. And I thought about this. What if you could help your customer understand that today they're in a really good position to step into the time machine and save 800% or get a return on their money of 800%.
So for every dollar you make $800?
$8.
For every dollar you make $8, okay.
Yes, that is the math. Maybe the tequila's working too much and my brain's not there.
No, I'm wrong, you're right.
But yeah, what if you could get an 8-to-1 return on investment for every dollar that you spend? Well, maintenance does that. Studies have shown that for every dollar of maintenance that a customer invests in a car, it actually prevents approximately $8 of repairs down the road. Now, in the independent world, what happens is we see a lot of cars that are on the repair plan, and you'll see it too in the dealership. But a lot of the dealerships take really good care of their customers' vehicles, so they're on the maintenance plan. It's cheaper to drive a car on a maintenance plan than it is for a repair plan. So we want to get the customer out of repair land to get them back into a proper maintenance plan. And the way we do that is by selling maintenance. So the time machine is this. If you say yes to maintenance today, what you're doing is going 3, 4, 5, 10 years into the future, and you're preventing that transmission from failing. You're preventing an internal failure. I can't go out 5 years when that internal failure happens and flush the fluid or change anything. There's not a chemical I can put in your transmission to fix it once it's broke, but we can do it today and prevent it in the future. So we have a time machine moving forward, but go 5 years from now, if you said no to the transmission service today, I can't take you back in time and do it.
Yeah.
So that's where the time machine aspect comes in.
And it really applies to power steering, transmission. Like, I see more power steering racks, like,
Oh,
there's just metal chips in there.
Oh, absolutely. And power
crazy.
steering racks are we're doing a lot. We're probably doing 3 or 4 a week right now at our shop. Yeah.
But it could be prevented.
Absolutely, it can.
But the problem, too, is the manufacturers don't tell them to...
It's not in a maintenance book.
Yeah,
anymore. Right.
but man, they need it.
Absolutely.
It could
So
be
the-
prevented. I like that analogy of a time machine because it's huge.
And the core of what we do as trusted service advisors is create a customized maintenance and repair plan tailor fit for you and your car. So I am going to step outside of what's in the book. I am going to step outside of what the factory has recommended, because keep in mind, when the car manufacturers design these maintenance schedules, they design them for a number of reasons.
To sell more power steering racks.
Well, to sell the car. So if I'm Ford and I'm designing the F-150, but my cost of ownership for the first 100,000 miles is $2,500, and Chevy and Dodge is at $1,200 for maintenance, who's going to sell more trucks? So I've got to be competitive on the maintenance. So that's where extended service schedules have come out. That's where all these fluids have come out. But now we're seeing just a labyrinth of deep, expensive repairs between 100 to 300,000 miles because the system was neglected in the first 100,000. So what we want to do is customize the maintenance plan for our customer, help them understand. We're going to put you in that time machine, take you into the future so you can save that money.
Do you actually say that to the customer at time of write-up?
During write-up, we talk about their timeline, and then if I do get an objection with the sales presentation,
You talk about the time
I
machine.
talk about the time machine. Absolutely.
And yeah, so it's like a crystal ball. Like you could say like, hey, I got a crystal ball.
Yep.
That you already kind of know this, and everybody knows that if you maintain your car,
Yep.
you're going to save yourself money in the long run. But it's hard in the moment to do it, and you procrastinate.
Right.
But it is a time machine.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah, and we've all had those instances where we wish we could go back in time and make a different decision, but today you have the power to make the right decision and say yes to your maintenance so we protect your car for the next 3 to 5 years. So is it okay to go ahead and move forward with the maintenance today, Chris?
Yes, sir.
And you got to close. You got to ask that closing question. And it's right there. So that's something that we're working with we're getting great results with our coaching clients, and we're seeing a ton of approvals, and customers are happier. So they are. We're preventing the breakdowns. It's great.
Yeah, preventing the unforeseen breakdowns, right? Thanks for watching this episode of Service Drive Revolution. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified when we post new episodes. I'm Chris Collins, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Chris Bulldog Collins. And I'll see you again on the next episode.